Hey, Cancer. We're getting a particular card, and this is from the Herbal Astrology Oracle deck, and this card is called this card is Pau Darko with the subtext of Metamorphosis, and we're gonna read from the actual deck itself. This is a deck by Adriana Ayales, and getting this card could mean discovery through darkness, transcendence of the known, unearthing fear, nonconformity, and breaking cycles. And Pau Darko, this is the description. Pau Darko, I hope I'm saying that right, but commonly known as Tahibo or Lapacho, I definitely messed one of those up, is one of the most beautiful trees on earth. With over 100 varieties, this tree has been used medicinally and among many tribal peoples throughout Central and South America. Most commonly, the inner lining of the bark was boiled for a long time, then consumed as a dark coffee-like tea. Pau Darko has many medicinal qualities that fall under the moon and Pluto's dominion, such as being a blood tonic and a daily tonic for strength, and also being employed for digestive imbalances, menstrual irregularities, malaria, anemia, colds, flus, fungal infections, respiratory problems, arthritis, cancer, and a lot more. The Incas and other groups predating them were known to use Pau Darko as a panacea. Tribes living thousands of miles apart have employed it for the same medicinal purposes for hundreds, if not thousands, of years. Many tribes use this wood, making hunting bows, utensils, and all sorts of tools, believing that it provided great blessings of strength and resilience. Guarani, Tupi, and other indigenous tribes used El Arbol de Ivaga, which translates to the Tree of Heaven in Guarani. The Milky Way was known as the road to Yavaga. Lapacho is one of the great protectors of the sacred, and she is welcoming you in. Archetypically, Pau Darko embodies one of the faces of the dark goddesses in her mighty splendor. The dark goddess is multifaceted, challenging belief systems, frailties, weaknesses, testing our strengths. Like Pluto, Lapacho demands you rebel against the ignorance of the old self and learn paradigms that inhibit the splendor of your expression. Her mighty darkness provides the tools to rebuild ourselves anew, triggering instant metamorphosis. Don't fear the unknown nature of mystery. The cosmic womb in its darkness births all hidden potentials into existence. Don't fear the unknown nature of mystery. The cosmic womb in its darkness births all hidden potentials into existence. Trust and step in. You are being guided. Cancer, this is interesting for a few reasons. I think one of the main things that you guys should understand in terms of Cancer, right, and that really come up in this idea of metamorphosis. Cancer, and so I would say the moon in particular, right? The ruler of Cancer being the moon, or I believe that's right. The Cancer rules over the moon, or the moon rules over Cancer. I forget which way that goes. But the idea here is that that is, when it comes down to the moon in general, that's the planet that you'll have one of, if not the strongest resonance with. And it's ruling over this particular card, and it's also talking about Pluto as well. The Cancer zodiac, it rules over emotions, right? And the Cancer zodiac and the moon would rule over emotions. And Pluto, that's it's very dark. It's a very dark, it's a very dark sign, or a very dark, dark planet, and it it tells us about the things, about our fears and things that we really don't want to see in the actual world, or we're really hesitant to see in the actual world. And the metamorphosis, the idea of a metamorphosis taking place it was so obvious to me in terms of when I even started reading this. It was just kind of, I had to go back and look at the idea of the usage, and read that again to myself in terms of the idea for tea. Palo d'Arco's bark being used for tea in medicine, and Cancer has a particular understanding when it comes down to the world of emotion, right? Energy in motion. And the transformative effect of understanding emotions is tremendous. Being able to essentially have sensitivity, but also not only hold sensitivity, but hold a certain level of understanding with that sensitivity. The potential in that world is tremendous, and I would say one of the most underrated aspects when we talk about consciousness in life today, in terms of what that does and what that yields to. The idea of this combination of really the moon and Pluto. A Cancer that has, I think, the idea of Cancer is, a lot of the idea of sensitivity and things like that, and being sensitive. That's kind of something that sparks people the wrong way, right? Particularly the more masculine figures. It kind of sparks the wrong way, and it sparks the wrong message in a lot of cases, because just because you are sensitive to this world, that means, breaking down the element and the idea of sensitivity, that means that you have senses that are active, maybe outside of the normal periphery that many other people may have. And we have a negative understanding of that today, but when it comes down to the idea of sensitivity, it's very much useful, and it's something that we grow from, and it allows us to, it expands our potential for growth. And when it comes down to the idea of that potential being linked to simply the darkness, right? Because a lot of, a lot of people in the older generation, when I was kind of coming up, were more so like, hey, this is, it's love and light. That's what spirituality is, and it's not. That is so incorrect. So when it comes down to this particular understanding of Palo d'Arco, the metamorphosis that needs to take place, that sensitivity, I'm not saying that every single one of you listening to this message won't feel fear from that sensitivity, or react based on fear at first from facing this sensitivity with different things and different elements. But you should understand that that sensitivity is not necessarily lead to fear. You could come to a very real understanding of the world that is tremendous, and that helps transform a lot of people. And I think it can be, particularly, in terms of the idea of today, and the traditional level, or the operational level of intelligence that we operate at today. This is something that can yield to very real change in the world, right? So the idea of um, what do we say, um, we're about to be ruled by, uh, basically we're transitioning into maybe the more what is it, the matriarchy rather than the patriarchy, I believe that's what it's called. But the idea here is that, oh, the matriarch, and the traditional understanding of that is, oh, these are going to be, women are going to step into power and rule and things like that, and that could very much be so. But the understanding that you need to have is, it's not necessarily the matriarchy as in women. The matriarchy just means people who are emotionally understanding of the world, carry an emotional understanding of the world. It does not mean that necessarily we're going to have only women rule. It just means people who carry an emotional understanding are more likely to rule, rather than the idea of a woman versus a man. And when it comes down to tradition, absolutely, the idea of the woman having that particular, having, a stronger, impulse to understand and be guided by emotion is definitely something that has been the case. But now that understanding needs to really, really grow and adopt to a new form, a new idea, in terms of the idea of, uh, if you are a woman and you are emotionally sensitive and emotionally intelligent in ways, work on growing that, work on refining that intelligence. And if you are a masculine, or I won't say a woman, I'll say a traditionally feminine, but in terms of if you're traditionally masculine, then you need to work on essentially what that world means. Because a lot of us, when we initially feel things, like particularly like things like, things that we would normally make us afraid, or if it threatens to make, to be a source of fear, then we have odd reactions sometimes. Sometimes we go into natural, it becomes a natural form of aggression, rather than just being something that's simply just, an emotion. And, in terms of the idea here, that metamorphosis, many of you need to come to a real understanding of the potential here, the very real idea of metamorphosis, right? Because that healing that you have, that healing that you have, that you're able to really gain through being exposed to whatever type of emotional spectrum that you're coming into contact with, you need to carry that understanding and pass that understanding down onto the next and the next and the next generation. So that understanding it becomes more firmly embedded throughout society as we move on, and as we move toward this renaissance that we're in now. And I highly encourage you to take root and take hold of whatever that could be.